Welcome to the episode of Locked In, and this real-time review, we're going to be talking about the Redshift shock stop stem and seat post. Is it worth going fully suspended on your gravel bike? If this is something you've been looking into or have watched both of my reviews and wondering how they are in tandem, is it worth it? Please stay tuned. So in this video, I'm just going to be talking generally about running pseudo suspension, let's call it, on your gravel bike. And does it really make it that much better, or is it a gimmick? So if you haven't watched those independent reviews, make sure you do so you can get all the technical specs, since I won't be going over those in this video, but I'm going to tell you the difference between riding with just the seat post, just the stem, and them together, and is it worth it, and what are the pros and cons for you. So I'm out on the trail, gonna get a little bit of miles, a little bit of dirt, and then let's talk. So let's talk about my impressions of changing my gravel bike from a fully rigid setup to my full squish Cadillac Ultra Plush mode. So again, if you want to see the full specs and breakdown on both these parts, I do have those reviews on that, and I will link those in the description below. But let's talk about the difference of running the shock stop stem and the Redshift shock stop seat post. Now, for a little bit of history, I have been running the Redshift shock stop stem on my Giant TCX, which is my previous bike before this Cobalt Warhawk monster gravel build that I did. And I do have a full build series on that, and I did really love that product. But that was the first product they came out with. The seat post came out a lot later, and I did finally get a review unit after it did really well on Kickstarter to basically balance out the ride. The shock stop stem definitely takes a lot of damping harshness out of the handlebars when you are riding a long gravel ride, and it was very noticeable when I initially did that. And after a handful of miles, it definitely did even soften up a little bit more. So if you are running one, I'd say about 3 to 6 months, depending on how often you ride, you are going to feel a little bit more travel in the stem. So it might feel a little bit stiff up front, but the elastomers kind of break in after a while. I've never had to replace them, but do realize that once you get it, it is going to be a little bit softer after you ride it more and kind of break it in. So I definitely had to change the stem size depending on the bike when I did convert over to the Cobalt Warhawk. And obviously these are a little bit pricey, so that is something that you want to consider, and I would definitely recommend getting professionally fitted so you're making sure you're ordering the correct stem length for your bike. Now let's get on to the shock stop seat post. This was a complete game changer. The instant I put this thing on my bike, I literally was like, oh my god, wow, this is insane. It really does smoothen out the entire route that whatever you're riding on. Giving you about that 35 mil of travel is completely insane. It really does feel initially like you're running really low tire pressure, so it is something you have to get used to. When you're riding on it, you really have to know that, hey, I can sit in the saddle. And the weird thing is the setup of it, and I do describe that in the review, but I'm going to be doing a follow-up video very, very soon, so make sure to turn the notifications on and subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be talking about how to actually set this up, because it does have a little bit of sag into it, and since the seat kind of tilts back when you're using it, you do have to change your saddle position a little bit, and I'm going to be going into a full tutorial on how to set this up properly so you can maintain a proper fit and be comfortable and still utilize that full range of travel for that seat post. But the real big thing is balance. That's really where I think that if you are going to do this, it's really going to be a big game changer when you do both. Now, if you could only choose one, it really depends on what's really fatiguing you. If you're out on your rides and you're more saddle sore, I'd say go with the seat post first if you can only buy one at a time. If you're having really bad with ham numbness or fatigue where you just feel like you want to let go of the bars or need to take a break and shake your hands out more, do the stem first. But when you really combine the two, unless your bike already has some kind of pseudo suspension into it, I think this is the way to go, is doing it in a package deal. Now, there are bikes out there that do have suspension forks or a more active rear suspension that you might only need to do one of these components to really smooth out the ride. Let's say like the Cannondale Topstone, that now has the lefty fork in the front and that pseudo suspension in the rear. If you had the rigid version of that, I would definitely get just the shock stop stem. Now, if you had a Lauf bike with the Lauf fork in the front, I would then add the shock stop seat post in the rear to smoothen out the back to, again, balance out the ride. And I really like that these aren't proprietary parts. You're running a standard 27.2 shock stop seat post, and then you're running a standard 1.1/8" stem, and they do offer sizes from a 90 all the way up to 120 millimeters. So there are going to be some people that might need shorter or longer than that, but that's going to really cover the main range of people and stem sizes that are usually used on your bikes. So I really do like that because these parts can travel with you from bike to bike. So you're not reinvesting into this system every single time you're buying a bike, or it's not a proprietary part that only works on a certain model of bike. So you can add that suspension no matter what basically bike you have currently. Now, the other benefits to running the seat post, in my experience, is running around town without running a bib short or padded shorts is actually pretty comfortable. I usually don't do that. Even for a short ride, I'll throw some bib liners on or something, but I can run in this in just standard underwear and shorts, and it's pretty comfortable. Now, I wouldn't want to do 20 miles like that, but if you're running around, I'd say under 10 miles, this is still super comfortable. So if you are commuting to work, you may not have to wear a bib short or a liner when commuting. So I really think that's another added benefit if you're going to add this system to a commuter or a hybrid style bike, for, again, added comfort. So I really hope you guys like this video. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section below. Please make sure, again, to turn notifications on, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram, links in the description below, as well as I do have a Patreon with really cool added perks for the different tier levels to help support this channel, because I am trying to do this full time, and I would really appreciate it. And lastly, thanks for watching another episode of Locked In.
Let's get locked in.